Hello, thank you so much, Trade Pending, for having me here today. Welcome to session 1 of the Cannonball Run. We'll be discussing the first step in your customer journey, driving people to your website, the AI edition. I have a great agenda for you guys today. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of ChatGPT and generative AI and really how far we've come in such a short amount of time. I'll then touch upon the different use cases for ChatGPT and how you could be using it at your dealership to optimize your marketing and how you drive traffic to your website. We're going to talk about ChatGPT for SEO, then for social media, for PPC, and I'll cover some tips and tricks and we'll wrap it all up. Before we begin, just a little bit about me and my background. I'm the co-founder of SmartSites. Although my agency is not auto-specific, I'm very involved in the automotive industry. I just wrote a book that's literally automotive search marketing. So I've been very involved in the space, and I've spoken at NADA, Digital Dealer, a lot of other similar events. Although I don't necessarily sell anything around ChatGPT, we've personally been using it at SmartSites at my company, and I've been learning it to really improve our operations. And as I've gone through that process, I've seen a lot of applications for dealerships and have presented the session in various forums several times now. And I think there's definitely a lot of applications of generative AI that applies to dealerships and can really help dealerships succeed. A little bit about SmartSites. Like I said, we're not auto-specific, in other words, industry agnostic. Full-service digital agency. We're one of the fastest-growing, top-rated digital agencies across any industry. 400 full-time employees. We double in size every 18 months. So 18 months ago, we were 200. 18 months will be 800. Thousands of clients and really a great reputation. And the only reason I touch upon both a little bit by myself and my company is to really give you a snapshot of what we're doing ourselves, right? And for us, we're always growth focused. So since starting the company 12 years ago now, we've always doubled in size every 18 months, and that's always the goal. And some of the topics I'm going to cover today with generative AI and ChatGPT, I think is going to be the next step to help not only our growth, but help us create efficiencies for every industry. So that's my background and where I'm coming from. And hopefully today, in the next 40 minutes or so, I'm going to distill a lot of the experience I've had with both these different ways of driving traffic, as well as the latest and greatest in generative AI and ChatGPT. So before we jump in, of course, into the main content, let's quickly talk about history of ChatGPT, and even before that, what ChatGPT is. So ChatGPT, I know everyone's heard the word at this point, is almost like a brand name, right? It's almost like Xerox. The category itself is generative AI. So when we go through all of these upcoming slides, while they are ChatGPT heavy, this whole category is really generative AI, and there will be a lot more players. There are already a lot of players, right? Google has their own version. Microsoft has partnered with ChatGPT, but there'll be more and more iterations and versions of this. But the category itself will continue to be generative AI. To give you a little snapshot of how fast we've come in such a short amount of time, this is Google's search interest over time for the word ChatGPT. So prior to November, no one was searching it, and it didn't really exist. What's even more interesting is when I wrote my book, and it wasn't too long ago, I wrote it in November. It took a little bit to get published. It only got published a couple months ago, but when I wrote it in November, ChatGPT did not exist. I had the slight foresight in the end under useful tools. I think I included a couple sentences saying that generative AI and ChatGPT is going to be really revolutionary and it's coming soon. But at the time, in early mid-November, it literally did not exist. And here we are 7, 8 months, 9 months later, where it's not only a household name, but it's really already started to revolutionize entire industries and professions. Another slide just to show you how quickly we've come, right? This is a time to reach 100 million users. And to be fair, this slide is before Threads came out. So for those that know, Facebook, Instagram launched Threads, I think a couple weeks ago now, which is also really, really quick growing. So I don't have it in the mix here, but prior to ChatGPT, these were some of the fastest growing companies to reach 100 million users. So Instagram at the time reaching 100 million users in 30 months was something that was really groundbreaking, right? And it led to Facebook buying them for $1 billion and really became every app we use every day. TikTok growing in 9 months to 100 million users was also record-breaking and revolutionary at the time. The thing I will say though is Instagram, TikTok, all of these platforms are really grown by the younger demographics, right? TikTok until recently was the majority were under 18. Let's put it that way. So the growth really came globally, and it came from a lot of young people who found it interesting to look at content on it, right? ChatGPT is a lot more complex. You don't really, it's not as much teenagers going on there to look at content, and it's a lot more involved and in depth actually signing up for it and using it than a TikTok app where you just pull out your phone, download TikTok, and you have it, right? So ChatGPT reached 100 million global users within 2 months. So they launched, again, November, December. By January, they reached 100 million users, making them the fastest growing app, company, service, whatever you want to call, to date. Yeah, so obviously has not only become a household name, but the growth and trajectory has been really groundbreaking. Before we dive into a little more on it, just to give everyone the full background. So while ChatGPT itself is very, very new, being released at the end of 2022, the company OpenAI that powers it, that created it, was actually founded in 2016, has been around for a while. Elon Musk was actually very heavily involved with OpenAI for a lot of years. The GPT models they used have been in development for 4, 5, 6 years now. The big difference of translating the GPT models into ChatGPT, which you guys have heard of and know today, was that ChatGPT became almost like a chatbot and an interactive way to use the language model, right? Prior to that, all these iterations did not give you a good way to interact with the GPT language model and get responses. So that's the biggest difference. And then ChatGPT Plus, which is something you pay $20 a month for, using ChatGPT 4, actually only came out a couple months ago. So this is all very, very recent, very, very new. And I'll give you a quick comparison of ChatGPT versus ChatGPT 4. I'll let everyone digest all the data on this chart before I dive in, but mostly let's start off on the right side. So there's a lot of information. So this this compares the default ChatGPT. So if you sign up for the free service and you go to the website, you sign up, you use the free service, the default model is right now ChatGPT 3.5. If you pay extra for ChatGPT Plus, you get GPT 4. So the biggest difference, and again, let's start on the chart on the right. Biggest difference is the proficiency of the model. So let's take a look. I don't know. So these are different tests and how ChatGPT scores on them, right? So if we look at the LSAT, for example, right? So ChatGPT, can do a mouse here. I'll do my mouse here so you can see my mouse. LSAT, keeps disappearing. LSAT is right here down the middle. So the default ChatGPT model scored 40% on the LSAT. ChatGPT 4, again, the latest iteration that just came out, was able to score almost 90% on it. So the models keep improving very rapidly. On the left side, you see some more comparison between the different models. ChatGPT 4, even though it has a lot more data and could reason a lot better, it's the negative of it is the speed. It's a little bit slower. The main takeaway here is the models are always developing and always getting better and more sophisticated. where here literally the difference between ChatGPT 3.5 and ChatGPT 4 is only a couple months. So within that couple months, it was able to increase its scores on all the major exams to a point where it could now pass the bar without much trouble, and along with all these other exams. For the remainder of this presentation, I'm actually going to be using ChatGPT 3.5, so the older model. The reason for that is I think for the general use case in marketing, for the time being, the default free model is actually more than sufficient, right? If you're going to try to pass the bar exam, the ChatGPT 4 will be more helpful, but the general use case, the default model is more than adequate, and throughout the rest of the deck, I'll go through some examples of this. One more slide to really highlight the quick moving nature of generative AI and ChatGPT. So there's a new profession that exists now that's called prompt engineer. And that's funny, the title on my slide here is the hottest new programming language is English. So literally in the programming category on the job posting sites, the most popular, hottest job posts have been prompt engineer in the last couple of months. Not only that, as you could see from this post, these positions pay really, really well. So the big takeaway here is that I think companies are starting to understand the value of it, and they're starting to value those who are very proficient in prompt engineering. In other words, proficient in using ChatGPT. In the next couple of slides that I walk you guys through, hopefully it'll help you guys also be more proficient and almost qualify for some of these prompt engineering positions. So again, really, really interesting how quickly this has all grown. New professions have popped up from the ground. I don't think being a prompt engineer is gonna be a profession for a long time. I think this is just right now people don't know how to use it well enough, so it makes sense to hire prompt engineers to get the most out of generative AI. I wouldn't quit your day job and start training to become a prompt engineer, nor would I encourage you to train your kids in 10 years to be prompt engineers. But I think it's going to become a part of our everyday life, being able to use ChatGPT and everyone really being a prompt engineer. I think it's really the next iteration in productivity and efficiency, and those who understand how to use it and are able to use it are going to be more efficient, more effective, and more valuable at work. So I know there's a lot of people that are scared about all of this, and that's going to replace jobs and devastate industries. My take on it is a little softer. I still think that it's going to become a tool. For sure, it'll affect jobs, right? Just like when computers came out, those that continue to use typewriters and refuse to learn how to use a computer lost their job, right? But generally speaking, I think this will make all of us more efficient at what we do, and it'll change a lot of professions where strategy and critical thought are going to be a lot more valuable than doing menial work that generative AI will start to replace. So with that, let's dive into ChatGPT for SEO. So SEO probably has some of the best applications for ChatGPT in the marketing world. So before we jump in, just to get everyone on the same page, there's actually two parts of SEO. So what we're seeing in the top left is Google Local Pack, where the SEO industry considers Google Local Pack. For everyone else, it's Google Maps. The bottom is Google Localized Organic Results. And how you rank on both of those are different. You could consider them completely different parts of Google search. So the items that are important for Google Maps is not as important for Google Localized Results, and vice versa. Before we jump into the application of ChatGPT, just to get everyone on the same page, generally speaking, these are the industry agreed ranking factors on both. So to walk you guys through it, Local Pack, so let's start on the right. Local Pack is the Google Maps again. So what's important here is your Google My Business profile, your reviews, and then on-page and links. So on-page is some technical SEO, but is also the quantity and quality of the content on your website. Links are how many people link to you. Not only how many people link to you, but the quality and relevance of those links, right? So to put it another way, on page is fixing your website technically, but then on an ongoing basis, it's creating content. So each piece of content you create gives you an opportunity to come up in search results. So for example, if you're a Honda dealership, right? And you create a page comparing the Honda Accord versus the Toyota Camry, and someone searches Honda Accord versus Toyota Camry, that page, because you created it, has an opportunity to show up in Google search results. If you did not create that page, it would not show up, right? No matter how authoritative, how important your car dealership website is, if someone searches Honda Accord versus Toyota Camry, you will not come up because you didn't create that piece of content. So content, again, gives you the opportunity to come up in search results. And then links determines how high you come up, right? If you have a lot of authoritative websites linking to you, let's say CNN, Fox News, whatever it is, link to your website, Google now considers you more authoritative and will show your content higher. So those on the right side are, of course, are important to Google Maps, along with your Google My Business profile and reviews. But more so for local organic results, which is on the left side. So that's everything below the map rankings. They're even more important. So on-page and links actually makes up, with these numbers, more than 65% of the ranking factors. So again, if I were to focus on improving both of these, right? If your job, well, first of all, you should buy my book where I go into much more detail on this. But aside from that, if you want to really increase your organic search traffic, it's really optimizing your Google My Business profile. Everything needs to be optimized. It's getting more reviews, and not only more reviews, you want to have good content in your reviews. A lot of people don't realize, but Google actually uses the content in your reviews to determine when to show your store. Obviously, not as easy to control the content in your reviews. You can't just block the door and tell your customer you're not leaving until you write these sentences in the review. But just for everyone to be cognizant that it is used. So, for example, easiest way to demonstrate it is let's say a local coffee store, right? And they coffee shop, and they want to be known for their Colombian coffee. So if a lot of the reviews mention, oh, their Colombian coffee is amazing, someone searches on Google for Colombian coffee shop near me, they'll come up higher because of the content of the reviews. So you have your Google My Business, you have the reviews on page, you have the little bit of the on-page SEO, of course, the technical SEO, but then it's content and links, right? Everything else, behavioral citations, personalization is much lower. And citations, for those that don't know, are the third-party directories. So it's your Yelps and similar sites of the world. This is how it looks over time. So this is the local organic. So this is not maps, right? It's the stuff below the maps. This is how it's been over time. On page and links continue to be more and more important. Big question I get asked on this about social. Does it help my SEO if I make a Facebook or I advertise on Facebook or advertise on Instagram? It does not. So social does not contribute to your SEO in any way. It is up here for a couple of years in a very small amount, because when Google had their own social media network, the consensus was that it was impacting it slightly. And then this is Maps. As you guys can imagine, your Google My Business profile, which is no longer GMB, it's now GBP, is the most important ranking factor on Google Maps. So you want to make sure you have that completely filled out, old information there, getting reviews as many as you can. And again, we come back to the on-page and links. Here's another good way to look at it, where again, I think the main parts to focus on is really reviews, on-page links, optimizing your Google My Business profile. Cool. So now we're on the same page. I just covered probably a 1 to 2 hour SEO keynote that I do in less than 5 minutes. So now we're all on the same page of what contributes to SEO and what helps drive organic search traffic. We're going to take a quick review of how ChatGPT could help and how you could use AI to improve your SEO strategy. So throughout these slides, it's actually me going to ChatGPT. Again, it's I use the free ChatGPT, so it's not even the $20 a month version, right? And just going through it and showing you examples of prompts that you could use to help with your marketing, in this case for SEO. So our first one we're going to start off with is my question to ChatGPT here is, what kind of pages should a car dealership website have? Right? Seems like a no-brainer, right? You're like, oh, my website provider gave me the website, I have all the pages I need, but maybe you don't. By default, it gives you 10. You could ask for more. You could ask this question in different ways. It's really a good way to go through your website and make sure you have the pages that people might be looking for, right? And without ChatGPT or generative AI, you could find this information also. You could go on Google and search for it. I'm sure there's some websites that spell it out, but not as concisely and accurately. So most of this, I assume almost everyone has, right? But to me, it was interesting that, and this is of course more applicable to a new car dealership or a franchise dealership. I could have asked it for a used car dealership. But to me, what was interesting is number 10, which is a test drive page. Page where customers could schedule a test drive and could also see the available cars for a test drive. Surprisingly, going through a lot of websites, I didn't find this. And out of the, 50, 60 websites I reviewed, not a single one was able to do it in a way that ChatGPT suggests here, which is a automatic scheduler with the cars that you're able to test drive, like literally select the car and select the time. That's what consumers are looking for, right? So this could, along with the ones listed here, this could give you some ideas of just general site structure and site content you could and should have. Next up is generate a list of blog post ideas for car dealership, right? Right now, if you want to create content for your website, content ideas, it requires research, right? Especially if, let's say, you want to do it in a way that is impactful to your organic search strategy. A lot of dealerships do, 2-3 pages per month that will not be impactful, right? You're not going to move the needle. If you're creating 10, 15, 20 pages a month, you're going to run into some struggles with generating ideas of what that content should be about. So this is a great resource. Again, the prompt I use is generate a list of blog post ideas for car dealership. And examples it gives is 5 easy ways to maintain your vehicle and extend its lifespan, top 10 safety features in today's cars, how to prepare your car for a road trip, the impact of electric and hybrid cars on the environment. So really things people are actually looking for, and you could wind up getting a lot of traffic from. And again, this is just 10, and you could continue to communicate with ChatGPT and say, I want blog post ideas to sell new cars, or I want blog post ideas to improve service business or improve my parts business, and it'll give you different content. So the next one is a little bit debatable, and it is debated by the SEO community. So when ChatGPT first came out, my gut feel and what I've told clients and I've spoken about at conferences is that you should not use AI generated content. So the reason for that is it's kind of mass produced, right? If a million people go to ChatGPT and ask to create the same page, even if you ask in different ways, it might be mostly the same, right? It's what Google calls duplicate content. And my gut feel was that Google would highlight AI generated content in search results. So Google themselves, from their they own DeepMind, which is a company they bought 5-6 years ago, and from all their other investments, I assure you they could easily tell when content's AI generated. And my interpretation was that they would just put a label that says this content's AI generated and maybe not rank it as well or not rank it at all. And then Google came out in February, to my surprise, and I think a lot of people's surprise, and they said they'll continue rewarding high quality content regardless of how it is produced. So what's the takeaway here? And this is straight from Google's blog post that they did on this topic from February 8th. They did say they will continue using their EEAT model, which is valuing expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, right? So it does kind of suggest that AI generated content is in most cases, if you just take AI generated content, it will not meet the qualities of EEAT. But at the same time, that means you could use AI generated content and maybe massage it a little bit, right? And actually get it to rank on Google, which means you could be more efficient in the content you create and could create a lot more content. This is all, I would say, experimental, right? Google could change their mind at any point. They could say all AI generated content will devalue it, right? So I wouldn't go out and start generating, like make my whole strategy just AI generated content. It's also to create AI generated content that meets the EEAT criteria. Takes a lot more work than just taking something from ChatGPT, right? It requires, you want to go through making sure the quality is there, you make sure that it's accurate, correct. You want to reword some things, rewrite some things. So it's still a work in progress, but it's interesting that Google, for the time being, is actually allowing it. So with that behind us, you could easily have Google generate a lot of content for you, right? So you could, in this example, I say write 250 words on the history of the Mercedes GLS. And within a second, ChatGPT does such an amazing job at this. So I'll read some of it to you guys. Mercedes GLS is a luxury SUV that has become a popular choice for those seeking a comfortable and spacious vehicle. The GLS was first introduced in 2006 as a Mercedes-Benz GL Class, was later renamed the GLS in 2016. The SUV was designed as a replacement for a G-Class, which has been in production since 1979. And I won't read the whole thing, but ChatGPT does a great job of not only getting all the information, but summarizing it concisely for you. Some limitations, of course, is ChatGPT main core data is, I forget through when, but it's about 2 years old. They have now in beta, they can actually go on the internet and scrape new data and actually get website data. But regardless, their core vetted data will continue to be slightly delayed. So if you want to get the latest, what's the latest GLS model's functionality, this might not be the best, right? But aside from that, it does a really, really good job. Implications, of course, are that if you create a page like this, and I presented this slide now, probably to, I don't know, 10, 20,000 people, there might be a lot of GLS pages out there made by ChatGPT, and of course you don't want to have duplicate content. So that's always the consideration with using generative AI that other people are as well. Towards the end of this deck, I'll go through some tips and tricks of how to get different responses from ChatGPT for the same answer. But here's an interesting example, and again, I'll cover a couple more later. So you can actually ask ChatGPT to respond in different styles, which will give you content that's completely different. So if we go back, here I said write 250 words on the history of the Mercedes GLS. Here I said write 250 words on the history of the Mercedes GLS in the style of Shakespeare. So it goes, and the response goes, "O fair ladies and gentlemen, listen to the tale of a carriage that has journeyed through time and prevailed. Creation of metal, a feat of design and art, the Mercedes GLS with a story that does impact." Right, so really cool stuff, and this is one of my favorites, the style of Shakespeare, because it does such an amazing job with no matter what you put in the style of Shakespeare. But yeah, the takeaway here is that you have to ask for it to do in different styles and different ways, and that'll help you get slightly different content than other people might be getting. Next up is link building. So link building, we talked about briefly, it's getting other websites to link to you. To do that, you have to actually go and find these websites, and you have to ask them to link to you. Google does not allow buying links nor trading links. So it's really reaching out to websites, outreach effort, and getting them to link to you. So not as applicable here, but also gives you some link building ideas, right? So in this question, in this prompt, I wrote, "Where are the most popular local automotive directories in New Jersey?" Because those would be your links, right? You would sign up with the local directories, and you would get a link back from them. ChatGPT responds, "As an AI language model, I do not have access to real-time data or search results for local automotive directories in New Jersey. However, here's some popular local automotive directories." So again, it's not going to replace link building for you, but it could make your link building more effective by giving you ideas of which websites you want to reach out to get links. All right, next one and the last one for our SEO category is use cases for AI reputation management. So ChatGPT actually does an amazing job at responding to reviews. So for those that don't do it, you should be responding to all your Google My Business reviews, both positive and negative. There's a lot of studies done that a correct response to a negative review could actually give someone a favorable opinion of your dealership. So if we take a pause and think about that for a second, someone left you a bad review, but based on how you responded, it actually turns a bad review into a good review because the person reading it now has a positive opinion of your dealership because of that. ChatGPT does a better job at this than anyone I've seen, and I know a lot of really skilled copywriters. So in this example, I write a response to a user who loved this review on our car dealership Google listing. And I pasted the review, copy, paste, and quotes. My third time getting a car from Prestige Lexus of Ramsey. All three, he gave the respect and trust that is truly hard to find at a car dealership, especially these days. No pressure to buy. So for the review and the response to the review, and I'll read it for you guys. ChatGPT natively, without me even prompting, will highlight all the different aspects of the review that was left, and will turn them in a way that a person reading it who might not be a customer yet will want to become a customer. So the response is, thank you so much for your kind words in choosing Prestige Lexus of Ramsey for your car buying needs. We're so glad to hear that our team provided you with the respect and trust that you deserve during all your visits. We strive to provide a no pressure and enjoyable car buying experience for all of our customers. We are thrilled that we were able to exceed your expectations and earn your repeat business. Thank you for your continued loyalty, and we're looking at helping you with all your car buying needs in the future. Right? It literally highlighted all parts. Someone said they've been here 3 times. It says during all your visits, right? It does an amazing job with negative and positive reviews. So if you're manually responding to reviews, this automatically will be a huge time saver for you. All right, next up is ChatGPT for social media. So unlike Google, where it's a little bit questionable on content creation and the value of AI generated content and SEO, social media, there's really no negative implications. And ChatGPT does an amazing job planning your social media across all networks. So again, if something you're doing manually now and have someone else doing manually now, there's a lot of efficiencies that you could create. So let's start off with Facebook. So my prompt here is write 100+ words worth of Facebook ad copy for a car dealership in the New York City area. Include a call to action. And the response is, are you in the market for a new car? Look no further than an XYZ car dealership in New York City. We have a wide selection of the latest models from top manufacturers, as well as great selection of quality pre-owned vehicles. And then it goes on and on. Here, obviously, I gave it very little direction, right? I didn't say new cars. I didn't say used cars. I didn't say what brand of car. So in your prompt, you would include all of that information, and Facebook and ChatGPT will create the Facebook content for you. Next up is Twitter, which as of, I think, 48 hours ago is now known as X. They rebranded Twitter. Twitter is no more. It's now X. The bird is gone, and the logo is like just an X. So you might have to change this from tweets to, I don't know what tweets are going to be called now. That's not Twitter. But write 5 funny tweets about working at a car dealership. Right? Automatically, ChatGPT knows the style to write for Twitter. It knows the most popular ways to write it. And not only that, it knows the most popular hashtags. So some of these examples: just sold a car to a customer who thought manual transmission with a type of stick shift. Car sales line, right? It automatically makes it a Twitter format. And again, here I asked for 5 tweets. You could ask for as many as you like. Next up is TikTok. So TikTok is obviously more hashtag driven. So in this case, I didn't necessarily ask for the content, but I asked for the hashtags to use. So my question here is, what are the most popular hashtags for automotive on TikTok? ChatGPT will warn you that they don't have access to real-time data, which of course is going to change. It's already in beta and will change shortly. And right away, it not only gives you the hashtags, but it gives you an explanation of each hashtag so you don't accidentally use something that you didn't intend to use. So again, really, really powerful for making you more efficient at social media. Next up is ChatGPT for PPC. So PPC is a big one, right? And Interestingly, out of all the applications in marketing, which is, I don't know, SEO, helping you respond to reviews. I know people who use it to help them respond to client emails. Social media is a big one, right? PPC, I've seen used the least. There are very, very, very few agencies that are using ChatGPT for PPC in any way, but I think there's a lot of applications. Before we jump into that, I think it's worth noting that ChatGPT has created a huge boost for Microsoft. So Microsoft partnered with ChatGPT, and Bing now uses, it's now in Skype, in Bing Search, it's everywhere, it uses ChatGPT technology for generative AI. So this is probably the first time I've seen anyone be excited about anything for Microsoft since, for those who've been around since they came out with Windows 95. I don't know if you guys remember the video, but it was Steve Ballmer on stage like dancing, right? The Windows, here comes Windows 95. They've topped 100 million users, I think, for the first time. The waiting list to get ChatGPT within Microsoft Edge was millions and millions of people, and we've seen the utilization of Microsoft products really skyrocket recently. So aside from the ChatGPT applications, if you're not doing Microsoft ads, I would highly recommend it. It continues to be cheaper than Google. It's not as big, of course. It's typically, I don't know, 10% of what you would see on Google, but it is rapidly growing, and I think it's very important channel for paid search amongst various reasons. It also continues to be very unique traffic from Google. So what I mean by that is people who use MSN, who use Edge as their default browser, do not use Google, and vice versa. So it's incremental business that you could be getting at a cheaper cost than you do on Google. With that aside, here are some interesting implications. So number one, you could use ChatGPT to determine the campaigns you should be running. So for my question, I wrote, what Google Ads campaign should a car dealership be running? So it says search, display, video, remarketing, local inventory ads, right? This is a good checklist, and go through your campaigns and say, oh, wait, I forgot to set up anything for remarketing, right? And here it actually explains this to you. So similar to the rest of this this section where I talk about pay-per-click, I think a lot of this I wouldn't necessarily expect dealerships to do themselves, but I think it'll help them have conversations with their agency. So go through your account and go through this, and then you go to them and you go, I noticed we're not running remarketing. Is there a reason why? Right. So I think that's the use case here. And of course, ad copy is really good. Create 5 performance marketing ad copies idea based on a copy of Prestige Lexus, right? So it literally takes content from the website and creates ad copy ideas to use in your ads. And I specifically said performance marketing here, so it's all action driven, right? So really, really powerful ways to experiment with new content and not just have the PPC analysts come up with content, but have the PPC analysts come up with content, ChatGPT come up with content, and then run A/B tests of both. Now we're going to get more and more complicated, right? Can you write me a code for a Google App script that grabs the call report from Google Ads for the last 90 days given a set of Google Ad IDs, right? And it gives you the code, and then actually, you can't see the full screenshot, it actually tells you how to implement it. So literally this gives you a script, you run it in Google, and the output from the script is going to be all the call data. So caller IDs, how long they called for, when they called, per ad. So you know which ad is driving the calls and the quality of calls. And then of course you can match it up with your own CRM, see which became sales, and do really, really cool things with it. This data already exists in Google Ads, right? But this script will make it, makes it a lot more usable for you. Taking it one more level further, write me a Google Ads script that lists landing pages on a Google Sheet and checks the status code of them in column B. Tell me how to run this script on a routine daily, and I want an email for all pages that are 404 or other status code error. So this script, and again, I asked it to tell me how to implement it, so it'll give me a step-by-step of how to implement it. We'll give you a list of all the pages you're landing your ads to, and it's going to check them daily to make sure they're all functional. So specifically in the auto space, I see a lot of campaigns running to cars already sold, right? And Google disapproves ads themselves that are going to a not found page. but it all depends how your website's coded, right? If it's coded in a way that Google doesn't see not found page as a true not found page, it will not disapprove it. So I see a lot of times people spending a lot of money sending traffic to VDPs of cars that are already sold. So this script will automatically email you this. So again, you don't have to be running your own pay-per-click account. You could have the agency run it, but you could either share this with them or yourself keep an eye on any ads that are going to pages that are for or not found. Really, really cool stuff. And there's an infinite more amount of ways to be using ChatGPT to help you code. It's actually very, very popular now in the development space for helping debug code, write code, and really, again, create efficiencies. All right, as we wrap this up, some ChatGPT tips and tricks for you guys. So this is the tricks I've learned using it over the last half a year that helped me be more effective and efficient in what I do and has helped SmartSites. And hopefully this helps you guys become ChatGPT prompt engineers as well. So number one, define ChatGPT's role. So you want to, in the beginning, define what you want ChatGPT to be and how to respond. A very good trick is, and I put it in bold, act as an expert in your response has been the most powerful ways I've improved ChatGPT personally for my use. So when you ask ChatGPT to be an expert, they actually you actually have it access a lot more data. And although the response might be a couple seconds slower, the response is a lot better, and it gets you a much better response because it accesses a bigger set of data. Define the audiences. So you could say use short sentences, address the audience directly if you want to copy paste it to someone, right? Styles we already looked at. In the style of William Shakespeare continues to be my favorite. Create an article outline is really good. I've had it create summaries for me. Make it concise, yet ensure no information is left out. If you get the Bing browser, you could actually have it automatically, the page you're on, say create a summary or a bullet point list, right? And it actually does it for you. You could also have it work as help you vet products and technology. So for my last example here, I want you to act as a tech reviewer, include pros and cons and features. Start with reviewing A versus B, I don't know, iPhone versus Samsung Galaxy. So really cool ways to use it. Of course, there's some pitfalls, right? The data is limited. So the main data set it uses is through September 2021. I'm sure it's going to get updated very soon, but that's the core data set that is vetted the most and the biggest quality of data, the best quality of data. It doesn't always give the right answer. So in this prompt, I say, how many countries start with the letter V? ChatGPT says there are no countries that start with the letter V. So interestingly, I've been doing I present this a lot of times. This is the last example that still works. So ChatGPT is constantly improving and getting better and using the data to teach itself. But in this case, it still got this wrong. Why, right? And, there's Vietnam, for example, Venezuela. The data set it has, those countries are not started with the letter V, right? The official name for Vietnam is, I think, Socialist Republic of Vietnam, not Vietnam, right? So there's still errors it could have. So similar data from similar requests, we talked about it before. A million people ask for the same content, it's going to be very similar. And human touch is still golden. You need to curate, edit, and quality control what you get from ChatGPT. What else do I have here? I think that was the same slide that we went through twice. Next steps, go experiment, right? If you have not used ChatGPT, it's free. Please go to it, sign in, start talking to it. I think at the very least, learning about its capabilities will make it a lot more useful for you down the road. I don't think you need to run and start using it today, but I think just knowing what it can do is going to be really powerful, and down the road you could find opportunities to use it. And of course, there's a reason that ChatGPT prompt engineers are being paid 300 grand. Companies that are people that are very good at it, and companies that are utilizing it are creating a lot of value. So don't hesitate to partner with the right agencies that are using it. I think 6-12 months down the line, companies that are taking full advantage of generative AI are going to be more efficient, more effective, and perform better than companies that don't. And I think the disconnect between companies that don't and do is just going to grow over the next year or two. So that's all I had for you guys. If you scan the QR code, you can actually connect with me on LinkedIn, where I'm fairly active. And with that, I want to thank you so much for joining me to discuss how AI can help drive people to your website. Now that I've helped you drive that traffic, our next speaker will guide you through the next steps of how to best convert those into leads. Thank you.